Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Triggett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about the silent revenue leak in your clinic and why most PT clinics are getting underpaid and don't even know it. So we're with Andrew Dombek, and he's a physical therapist and the owner of Aid PT in Ashburn, Virginia, where he spent years on the front lines of running an independent clinic and navigating the complexities of insurance reimbursement. And after discovering that PT owners across the country are routinely leaving money on the table through insurance underpayments and unchallenged claim denials, Andrew built ClaimLogic OS as a software solution designed to help PT owners identify, recover, and protect the revenue that they've already earned by treating patients. And so today he's going to share with us how PT owners are losing money due to underpayments and what they can do about it. So Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Neil. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So let's dive in here. I'm real curious. Andrew, where do you see most PT clinics getting underpaid?
All the insurance companies. I mean, what's happening is from my understanding, the insurance companies have contracts, and they have different contracts with every clinic. You know, the clinic across the street could be getting different reimbursement than you. Facilities have different codes, and so they really, I guess, their systems aren't advanced enough to be able to decipher when I send in a claim versus when you send in a claim. So then they pay you, and then they leave it on the onus on to you to identify an underpayment and to request full payment.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right there that you basically have an independent contract with that insurance company, and it's not just the same for everybody. I know that from when I had my practice where we had a different fee schedule with United Healthcare that we were able to negotiate that was far better paid than a lot of my peers in that area. So it's very curious, like how the complexity of all these different contracts works, and then obviously each insurance company has their own different billing and contract systems and things like that. So I'm curious, with this, how did you become aware of this as a big problem?
So from a very early on, when I started my practice, I would reconcile the EOBs that would come in. This was before EMRs. And so I would create invoices in QuickBooks to analyze, all right, I got a payment, this is how much money. And generally I would get paid a certain amount. So I've always been clued into that. I had a biller, the biller suddenly died. And then I was like, oh man. So someone's like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, hey, I have all these claims. I know the claims that are out there because I've been keeping track of them. So as EMRs have come about, I wound up bringing on other billers, and, we don't get paid a lot of money for the work that we do. And so, every little bit counts. And so probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I was using an EMR system, and the easiest one was to track was United Healthcare, as you brought up. They had a daily max. And so my daily max was only $70. And so I was like, that's easy. So it's a daily max. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, this claim paid at $69.50. This claim paid at $68. This claim paid at $65. And so I wrote an email or called the billing company and said, hey, are you noticing this? Like, I need you to do an audit of this stuff. They wound up going back, and there was, I can't remember the exact number, it was somewhere between 600 and 800 claims that were underpaid. And so that resulted in somewhere between $9,000 and $11,000 of money. I mean, pennies add up, yeah, they do. And so I knew that this was still happening. But my clinic back then was just a solo practitioner. Now at times I've had 4 therapists, and that's thousands of lines. If we're billing 5 units, 4 units, 7 units, whatever, to manually look at that, it's very difficult to do that, to be able to identify patterns of underpayments and denials. And so my biller was complaining, and so I said, hey, why don't we see if we can do something about it? And that's how ClaimLogic's OS came about.
Wow, that's fascinating. So is that something that's fairly common? Like there's these patterns of like underpayments and rejections and things like that occur?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the insurance companies oftentimes will deny your claims. You know, you could send a clean claim. A lot of the systems want to send out clean claims. You can send a clean claim and they'll come back and say you're missing something, because a lot of times billers are going to go after the first in, first out, the largest, low hanging fruit. So they just, there's no way for them to pay us all properly because there's so many different contracts. And a lot of times when you have a biller that's working out of a billing company, they're just checking off, hey, we got paid 80 to 90% of what we're expected. They don't know because they're just check, 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 check. So unless you
Mhm.
have someone analyzing this stuff, and there really isn't anything out there that's analyzing this stuff systematically to determine whether or not there is, a denial. And um, every, I think, 6 months, the insurance companies will tell you which CPT codes or which ICD-10 codes are not covered. So they'll deny claims for that. So you have to stay on top of that, update your stuff. And so, this will look at all that data at once and be able to say, hey, ding, 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 stop billing 97530. The insurance company's not, this specific insurance company is no longer paying that code.
So Andrew, how do most PT owners, address these underpayments?
I don't know if they are. I don't think, if you're not aware of it, you don't know how to address it. That's why our system, part of the system also, we do customized appeal letters, that an appeal letter generator. So based on the denial code specific to that, you just, with 3 clicks of the button, it'll write an appeal letter specifically with that claim ID, your all the data that you need to send it back to the insurance company. Say, hey, this is our expected rate. This is our what you paid us. Please, provide us this plus interest.
Mhm. Wow. And so is this something that like the EMRs are covering, or is it just like something that EMRs don't really offer?
Mine isn't. I did hear that one maybe, I think it was maybe Prompt might be, but their system, you have to manually enter in all that data.
Hmm.
Like every CPT code you do and each reimbursement rate per. That's the only company that I've heard that may be doing this, and I'm not 100% sure. Our system is able to load it all at once. It doesn't need for you to individually like type in each one, which could be cumbersome, but helpful if you do it. But I haven't confirmed that, but I've from the online from my online post, someone said that Prompt EMR, but I don't even know, to be honest with you, if people are aware that that feature exists in their system and how well it works.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it could be there's usually a gazillion little features and tools and stuff within
Yeah.
EMRs that we may not be fully utilizing or know about, or like you said, they may not be optimized for this particular issue. But it's nice that we're bringing awareness to this problem because hey, if you can recuperate 10 grand a year, right, because of these claims or issues that were going on, and you can only imagine if it's compounded across a clinic that has 15, 20, 100 providers, like that becomes a huge problem, right?
Huge
Um,
problem. It's Office Space, the movie. They were like stealing pennies. And it
right.
adds up.
Yeah.
It adds up, and a lot of EMRs, they spend the least amount of time on the billing portion of their products. It's usually scheduling, front end, user interface, soap notes. They
Mhm.
don't spend a ton of time and emphasis on the ones that I've used and we've come across on the billing portion. Um, so
Yeah. And so can you tell us a little bit about Claim Logic OS and sort of how you got that developed, what you were really like, what does it do? Like, how does it work?
so what we're doing is we're, analyzing ERA payment data to identify patterns in underpayments and denials, something that is really difficult to do manually. So at a high level, it compares what was paid to what was expected in services discrepancies, then organizes them into patterns.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
Very cool. And so, like, then by identifying those patterns, how does it then like help practice owners collect what's owed to them?
Well, it prioritizes, most billers work first in, first out. So whatever claims they got, the oldest or the newest to the oldest or whatever. So ours organizes in high priority, medium priority, low priority, meaning the highest dollar values that are out there that are either denied or underpaid. It's going to surface those at the top, and then the medium ones and so on and so forth. But it also, like, there's a business intelligence portion of the system that it'll tell you, all right, United Healthcare, like for my clinic, for instance, there's like 692 claims that are underpaid over the last 2 years or needing appealing of like $42,000. So it'll go company by company to see which ones are outstanding. And then it also analyzes like which CPT codes are being underpaid. And so that's where we unearthed in our clinic that one insurance company was no longer accepting 97530. So we had to, because we were able to recognize this pattern, then we can tell either we had to add a modifier or what we were then able to do was stop using that code so we could start getting paid again for that specific insurance.
Gotcha. And I think you mentioned to me before we were chatting here that you can claim quite a ways back. Is that
legally you're allowed to from 2 years up from today? That if they process your claim, that you have you have a 2-year window, especially if it was a clean claim, to go back and say, hey, we analyze this data. So a lot of times, like what we're looking forward to when we bring on paying customers is say, hey, this system could potentially pay for itself. That over the past few years, it could find the money for you. And then also, because cash flow is always a huge issue with, as a physical therapy owner, because we're at the mercy of the insurance companies for when they want to pay us.
Yeah, and like you said, every penny counts, right? And if it's $2 on a patient visit here or $5 on a patient visit there, like that all just adds up over 2 years time, right? Like you said, you had 600 claims or something like that you were able to rebuild
just for United Healthcare, exactly.
Yeah.
600 to 800 claims. I didn't know there was that many, but when they went back and I asked them and they did an audit, and it behooves them too, like as the billing company, like this is supposed to help, so if it helps an owner to understand what's going on the claim side, and then also is a second set of eyes for the billers, and that the billing companies, if they're using this system and everything is right there, like you don't have to open up multiple windows to look at claims. We have one click and it clicks, and you just one click and it pops up. You can organize the whole dashboard based on the insurance company. So today we're going to work on Anthem, and we can look at all the Anthem claims and look at what they paid, underpaid, what was denied, and then just any type of denial patterns. We also went back and looked at missed fifth units charged, that sometimes my staff wasn't billing 5 units for a reevaluation, that they weren't understanding the code properly. So we were able to go back, do an audit of their notes, and say, hey, this patient was here for over an hour. You had a reevaluation. You could have built a 5th unit on this session.
That's really cool. And so are you pulling a lot of this data like out of the EMR to go back through, or do you get it from because I mean, if that's where like you're seeing some of the claims or the payments back in? Nothing.
We don't go into the EMRs. We're just like, so when clinics send me their data, they're just dropping ERAs. So, but my system has an API with our clearinghouse.
Oh,
So
okay.
what I've programmed it so it every half hour it scans the clearinghouse to see if there's any new ERAs that have entered into the system, and then
Mm.
runs that. And then my biller can look at that, and she uses it, and she's like, I went through stuff and I thought that I caught everything, and it still catches stuff. She's like, she calls it eagle eyes, like, because it's like I looked at this and it's still like I still miss stuff. So
Yeah. And that's one thing too. Think for our audience, like it sounds like it works in conjunction with or like your current billing and what you're
correct.
currently
It's
doing.
not meant to replace anything. It's supposed to, it's like a parent sitting on your shoulders. It's like, hey, you missed that. Just something
Mhm.
right there. It's not meant to replace your EMR. It's not meant to replace your clearinghouse. All it does is it just scans it over and says, hey, this is the information. This is the patterns that we recognize. And, as we go, we'll be able to customize features specifically, hopefully to each clinic, say, hey, I want to know if we're doing X, or I want to know if we're doing Y. Right
Mhm.
now, we're just looking for, I have it built for, like in my clinic, looking for the denials of 97530, and also to make sure that is the therapist, everyone billing 5 units? And if they didn't bill 5 units, then we can go back into the note and say, all right, this patient left earlier, this patient came late.
Mhm. Wow, that's really cool. And so that's one component of that program, right? And then there's another component, the appeal generator. You talked a little bit about that before. Can you help us understand how that works?
Yeah. So when you get a denial or you need to appeal, with literally you check the box in 3 other clicks, and it will generate a appeal letter that is specific to the denial codes that are listed on the ERAs. And so most, like, my clearinghouse charges $5 to write those letters, and it's probably 5 or 7 clicks to be able to get to that letter. Uh, in our system, it's going to be free.
That's cool. And so is that something like you would print out and mail in, or do you have to like, or can you like electronically send that?
I
Like
think
how
you
does
can
that typically
electron,
work?
you can just copy paste and send it into, I think a lot of it's like fax. I don't think you have to drop.
Oh, okay.
It's not often that you're dropping to paper, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'm not a biller, but I think some companies, sometimes you have to drop stuff to paper. Workman's
Mhm.
comp, you have to drop to paper. Um, uh, I think usually it's a fax. I think that you can digitally fax it to them. I don't think there's an electronic way of submitting the appeals when they're underpaid.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So I think like one thing that I'm definitely hearing and learning from this is that, and for our audience, like it's a game, right? We were just talking about this, like insurance is a game, right? And there's such complications in our healthcare system and this middleman insurance that we're dealing with, and the volume of claims and contracts and things that they are constantly doing, not just for PT, but for like all different medical services, right? That they're very complex systems. So stuff falls through the cracks, but there's also now they're using AI to auto-generate denials and all kinds of things, right? We're in that world now, so you got to realize that okay, they're playing their game, we got to play our game against them, right? And so I think it's important to make sure you have like this. That's like you said, most practice owners are just not aware that this is a problem, and it's like the little things that go unnoticed, right? But if you have the tools and solutions, if you have proper billing systems in place, that your billing systems grow as your practice grows because things get more complex, and then you can add in layers of other software tools to catch things like this. Like you said, you don't get paid that much for what we do from insurance anyway, so we got to make every dollar count from what we're supposed to get paid.
And this system right now is, I'm just, because this is my wheelhouse: physical therapy, occupational speech therapy, and maybe even chiropractor we all use the same CPT codes. But the future iterations will be other medical specialties, dentists,
Mm-hmm.
primary care practice. We're not alone in this. We're not alone in the insurance game. and I don't know, they're not using AI right now to help pay us and pay us the correct amount based on their contracts. As far as I know, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to build this and find this data.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. They're using AI not to pay us, right?
They're definitely, I've had my calls with, the reps, and they're, you know, they're saying like, oh no, the AI is not analyzing the claim. And I asked them a question and they can't even answer the question. And I was like, you didn't even read my note, so it's not true. I mean, that's a great thing. Like we're using AI in the office, AI Scribe to help us write our notes, because the insurance is using AI to read our notes. So we might as well give them a note that's, organized by AI.
Yeah, totally. So you got this great software that you worked on, you're implementing, working on with your clinic. You've got a few other clinics that you're working on and piloting this with. I'm curious, what's your next steps here for ClaimLogic OS?
Well, the next step, like I said, would be to integrate AI to help, analyze the data even more, because right now it's just myself, it's just the logic that we built into it, and I'm sure I don't know everything. So putting AI into it, I want to be able to, with the system, be able to even look at, all right, this is the average reimbursement for this insurance. This is the average, this is the average and this is the expected. So you can kind of see it on like a scoreboard. All right, here's your list of insurance companies. Here's the expected amount. Here's what they're paying us, so you can kind of have an idea of, where we're at, as well as we want to tune up some stuff, but also like tracking the appeals process. So, all right, I click the send the letter right now. All right, I want to be able to track this. So pop up a reminder, say, hey, this claim hasn't been paid. You need to call and say, hey, we sent you in this letter saying on this date, all these claims, and you give your list, were underpaid, and I want to know what the process is. So this way, it's not just set it and forget it, that, hey, flag, you're missing, we haven't been paid on this claim yet.
Got it. And so are you looking for more clinics to join in on the program here as you're piloting a lot of these different types of states and things like that?
Yeah, the more clinics, the better, so I can have a better understanding, because as I've found, from state to state, region to region, everyone, as we know, like you have different insurances in Washington State, Oregon, California, New York, the middle of the country. And so there's different rules. So I want to, the more data I have, then I can the more patterns I can see to help say, to bring to everyone's attention.
Awesome. And so is there a great way for people who in our audience might be interested in piloting this program with you and seeing if it's something that could benefit them?
Yeah, they can just email my Gmail account. It's adombek@gmail.com, and email me if you're interested in that. And we'll just, we don't need a lot. We just need, 10 to 15, days worth of ERAs. If you want to send more, 30 days, that's great. And then we need your any specific billing rules, because, some you have. We need to know whether or not, all right, this insurance will only pay 3 units. This insurance has a daily max of $100. So this way the system doesn't detect that this is an underpayment. Because a lot of times, like, what will come through is our early iterations were, all right, this is an underpayment, and then we analyze it. No, this has to go to secondary, or this is a copay and this is a deductible and stuff like that. So that was some of the mistakes, early on, that we were able to iron out and say, all right, now all the billing rules are in place, but every region has different, we can only bill 3 units. We can only pay this, twice on Sunday, never in New Jersey, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's so many nuances because we're operating really as 50 independent countries, if you will, right? We got some insurance companies that cover a lot of different states, but they all have their different rules within each state, and even different counties, different fee schedules and things per county.
Yeah, and you could have a fee schedule if the clinic is owned by a hospital or a clinic owned by a doctor's practice. That by up here in Northern Virginia, there's a road that's a dividing line. Like, are you considered rural or suburban area? If you're west of Route 50, you get paid this. If you're east of Route 50, you get paid that. So anything, I don't know. I mean, I wish I was in the insurance business. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So, Andrew, any last thoughts here before we wrap up?
I mean, I would love to be able to help, as many clinic owners as possible, because this is just small leakages, and small leakages add up to hundreds and thousands of dollars that, you can't, it's very hard to do this systematically, manually. We've already analyzed 50,000 lines in the system already. So, like anything, the more lines it reads, the smarter it gets. And then the more things that we can, unearth to see, what are what payer patterns are out there. And for a business owner, as a PT owner, you don't have a lot of business knowledge to say, hey, here's some extra money that's coming out. This is the expected. This is what you're missing. And you can have maybe a little bit better understanding of, based on our KPI tiles. All right, this is what how many claims went out, how many appeals went out. So be able to track this so you know how efficient your biller is. And the billers, they can use it because their billers are going to become more efficient using my system, so they can take on more clinics and won't have to hire as many billers to be able to handle all these clinics, because everything is right there on one screen. Or, well, it's all there. You don't have to pop and click in and out. And it's organized to tell you, all right, this is what you need to see. It tells you what to do and go from there.
Very cool. Congratulations, Andrew, on putting this together, looking for this, obviously solving a great problem that most people are not aware of, and ultimately making sure we get paid what we should get paid by the insurance companies. So congratulations on that. And for our audience out there, we'll have Andrew's email there in our show notes, so you can go check that out, reach out to him with any questions on that, and a great person to connect with if you're looking to solve this problem in your clinic. So Andrew, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us.
Thanks, Neil. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And to our audience out there, thanks for being on the podcast with us here today. I hope you got a lot out of it. And don't forget to like and subscribe our podcast, as well as our YouTube channel, where we have all these podcast videos up there for you. And don't forget to go to practicepromotions.net, where we've got tons of marketing advice and tips for you to move your clinic forward. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.